It's not rolling either.
Good morning. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Fremont County Board of County Commissioners. I invite you all to rise for an invocation by Greg Swearingen with the Royal Gorge Vineyard Church, and please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we're just so grateful for Fremont County. What an awesome place to live. And so we just ask for your rich blessings over this county. We ask for your protection. We're so thankful for the first responders, the policemen, and that go in harm's way to protect us. And think about the firemen out there fighting these fires, even across Colorado, that you would protect them as well. And so, Lord, we thank you for all the rich blessings that you give to us. I ask for wisdom and direction and discernment for these commissioners as they lead this county. Give them your guidance, and we just thank you. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
And for those watching in today, both Planning and Zoning Director Garrett and County Manager Bryant are in the audience.
Thank you, Justin. I would like to make the note, we've been making so many meetings of late. We do have our masks with us. We are all socially distanced in the meeting this morning. We take our masks off during the meeting so you can actually hear what we're saying. Otherwise, it doesn't work out so well. All right, we turn next to approval of today's agenda. I believe we have a change we are going to be making under consent, but for now, let's turn to approval of the agenda.
Do we need to make that change now before we approve the agenda?
We can change it under consent.
We should change it before.
Or you can change it now.
We should change it right now. That way
Okay.
we approve it. So under
do
the
it.
consent agenda, Madam Chair, we need to pull out item number 3, which would move item number 4 up to number 3. And with that, I would move to approve the agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve today's agenda, removing item number 3 from the consent agenda to be placed on a future board agenda and renumbering item 4 to number 3. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So we move next to the consent agenda for today.
And with that change that we made on the regular agenda, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve today's consent agenda. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I would like to note with that consent agenda, we try to let you folks know if you're interested in future public hearings, we are not scheduling a public hearing into the future under today's consent agenda. Up next, administrative and informational topics. We begin with staff and elected officials. We have Sunny Bryant, our county manager, with us this morning for first a county manager report, followed by sales and use tax report. Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning.
Good morning. So just a couple of items that I wanted to give updates on. So we have begun the meetings for the 2021 budget process, and so we had our first meetings yesterday with the county commissioners. I appreciate all of the elected officials and department heads for getting information submitted, and so we've begun the review of that of the proposed budget. So it will be on the website the end of October for citizens to be able to start reviewing that. So we also have put out the request for Pathfinder Park Community Center, so that process is going. The bids will be opened on September the 29th. So we're excited to move forward with that. We've also put out a request for proposals for the judicial building to finish second or to finish some space on the second floor. And so those bids are actually due this Thursday on the 24th. So we will be moving forward with that project. And then we will be opening up a third round of the CARES Act grant, the Restart Business grants. So we'll open that up by the end of this week. We'll have that application updated and submitted. And the new due date for those applications will be October 15th. And so that'll be our third round of these grant applications. And we are intending for those to be new applications and not necessarily businesses submitting an application for each round. And so we are clarifying that. In the event we get towards the end of the program and there is available funds, we may increase the amount from $10,000 cap. So businesses have the ability to apply for additional funds. But right now, we're hoping to get as many businesses impacted with these funds that we can. So that's all I
Right.
have for the manager's report.
Thank you, Sunny.
So for the sales and use tax report, so the retail sales tax collections came in the month of July at $679,283, which is up $109,757. Year to date, we are up $644,541. The auto use tax collections for the month of August came in at $93,200. Year to date, we are still down $46,351. But as Clerk Grantham has indicated, those numbers are leveling out. And in comparison to budget, we're actually not doing terrible. We're down $27,959, so we'll continue to monitor that over the next couple of months. The construction use tax collections in the month of August came in at $57,780, which is up $40,920. Year to date, we're down $34,685, but when you compare it to budget, we're actually up $25,374. The lodging tax came in at $3,285, which is down $6,001 from last year. Year to date, we're down $27,771. The feedback we've received from some of the lodging entities is that the next few months, they were very busy, and so I think our next quarterly report will actually reflect that, hopefully. The sheriff retail sales tax collection in the month of July came in at $452,856. Year to date, we are up $429,000 from last year. And the auto use tax collections came in at $62,133, which is down $30,900 from last year, year to date. And then last, the construction use tax collections came in at $39,246, which is up $28,806 from last year. And year to date, we are still down slightly, but like I said, in comparison to budget, we're actually up on that. So that's all I have.
It certainly does pay to budget conservatively. And
Yes, it
so
does.
I'm just so incredibly happy that under your leadership as our finance director that we continue to do that. I know our sales tax is looking really, really good, as anyone who takes a look at it and listens to the number knows. But it's nice to know that we haven't been counting on some of those funds, the ones that we have had a decrease from last year. So good job, Sunny. Thank you. Anything
Sunny.
further for Sunny?
Nope.
All right. Other staff and elected officials who may have a report this morning.
I got a couple things. One is, most people know, we have a lot of volunteer boards within the county, and we have one of them with an opening right now, and that's the Tourism Council. It has been advertised a little bit, but a lot of times people don't realize that there's openings. So if anybody's in the tourism industry and would like to serve on the Fremont County Tourism Commission, that send us a letter of interest, and we'd like to get somebody on that board that wants to expand on the tourism of Fremont County. The other thing is the sheriff has moved the fire restrictions back down to stage 1, but we still are under fire restrictions because it is still very dry out there. Got a little shower last night at my house, which was
I did too.
amazing.
Yes.
But it is still pretty dry out there, so stage 1 fire restrictions are still in effect, as well as Forest Service and I believe BLM are also in stage 1. So it's pretty dry out there. The fuels are really dry. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Last night, we had our very first meeting of the Urban Renewal Authority with the city council. Basically, it was kind of an organizational meeting. for the Urban Renewal Authority. So it didn't last long, just kind of get together and how we're going to move forward. We'll have our first official meeting then in November, but it's a little convoluted, and we'll straighten that out today on our agenda. I'm actually appointed as the special districts representative, but I'll be appointed as the county representative, and then we'll have to change the special districts representative in a couple of weeks with the fire district. But that'll get all straightened out before our November meeting, and then we'll see how it moves forward.
All right, I think the only things I really wanted to discuss we have on our agenda today. So we turn next to our county clerk, Justin Grantham, who would like to say a few words. Morning, Justin.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. Happy National Voter Registration Day to everybody here and out in the world listening. If you haven't registered to vote, you moved, you had any kind of change to your voter registration, now is the time. This is a perfect day to get in all your changes at www.govotecolorado.gov. Get your changes in. That way, when we mail ballots out in Fremont County on October 12th, we mail them to the correct spot for the right person. So that's what I have.
All right, thank you so much for that. Voting is important.
It is very important.
I can't say do it often, but I can say do it early. So be prepared to get your votes in. All right, citizens who may wish to address this board on a matter not scheduled on today's agenda, we have Mr. George Story with us this morning.
Morning, George.
Good morning, George.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have something, I'm kind of switching gears this morning. I'm going to talk about heat pumps this morning. They're more efficient than air conditioning and heaters. You put them on 70 degrees and they stay that way. This building is cooled by them. U.S. Bank is cooled by them. City Hall, I think, is cooled by them. They're really more efficient, and they pay for themselves in probably a year or two, so they're really going. And of course, the best heat pumps in the world are made in USA, 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 USA. Thanks for letting me speak, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, George.
Thank you so much, George. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this board this morning? All right, let's move on. We have no old business for consideration today. We'll jump right into new business. Item number 1 is the presentation of the 2019 audit report. We have with us this morning Kyle Logan of Logan & Associates. Good morning, Kyle.
Morning, Kyle.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us.
You're one of the few clients that I've had this year to actually be in person to present the audit report, so I'm glad. So yes, I am the owner of Logan & Associates, CPA firm. We are the independent auditors for the county, and so I'm here this morning to present the results of our audit of the county's financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019. And so we basically did our audit in 2 phases. The first phase was the first week of December in 2019, where we kind of come out and did a lot of preliminary work, testing internal controls, looking at cash disbursements, payroll, and certain revenue streams to see that, you know, the processes and procedures that have been put in place over the years by county management are being followed, and to see if, you know, money that's going out in terms of either cash disbursements or payroll have proper approvals, proper support, and then are being properly reported in the accounting system for the county. We also performed some single audit procedures, the major, so since the county receives over $750,000 in federal monies, they're required to have more of a compliance type audit. And so this year, the major program that we looked at, one of them was the funds that funded the Hayden Pass project. And so we did a lot of that preliminary work in December. And then the second phase was scheduled for April 13th, and of course, everything changed. And so the remainder of the audit was performed remotely. You know, one thing it's caused is the extension of getting our audit process completed, because it's a little more time-consuming as far as communications. When we're face-to-face with the people we're working with, it's easier to get answers. When you're communicating through emails and phone calls and stuff, it takes a little longer. So anyway, I really want to thank Sonny and the staff here at the county, because they were able to get us the information we needed, and we were able to, perform our audit procedures. Nothing really was different. It was just in a different location. So that really helped, make the audit go smooth. But at that time, that's when we really concentrate on the year-end balances that are reported in the accounting system, that are reported in the financial statements. We did testing there. We did confirmation of balances, primarily, making sure that the cash and investments that are reported in the county system are what's the banks are saying you have. So again, no issues coming from there. And so doing all this process then allows me and gives me a level of comfort to issue an opinion on the financial statements. And so all the footnote disclosures, all the financial statement numbers in this document, they're responsibility of the county's management. Our responsibility is to audit them and issue an opinion. And so in the independent auditor's report, the most important paragraph is the opinions paragraph in that report. And so for the year ended December 31st, 2019, the county received an unmodified opinion. Now, in layman's terms, what that means, it's a clean opinion. That is the best that you can receive from an independent auditor. What that also tells you as the commissioners and management of the county is that all the numbers in this document, all the footnote disclosures in this document are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So again, that tells you also that you have sound accounting procedures and policies in place to provide for good financial reporting. Okay, I'll just kind of hit on some highlights, briefly go through how the financial statements are put together. So on the table of contents, you primarily have seven parts to this document. Following the independent auditor's report is the management's discussion and analysis, and then following that are the basic financial statements. And there's two types of financial statements on pages 1 and 2. These are government-wide, so it's more of a presentation similar to a business. And then pages 3 through 5, these are the fund financial statements. And this is the detail of each of the funds that the county has. And so this is what you're used to seeing throughout the year when you receive financial reports from the finance department. And then on page 6, this is the statement of net position for your fiduciary funds. So the custodial funds that are maintained by the county treasurer's office are required to be reported as a separate type, because it's not money that the county has, it's money the county's holding for other entities, primarily your local government entities throughout the county, okay? And then pages 7 through 29, these are the footnotes. So accounting standards require certain things to be disclosed and to support the numbers in the financial statements. Pages 30 through 34, the required supplementary information. And this is the presentation of your general fund budget, and then the significant special revenue funds, your transportation, human services, sales and use tax, and the self-funded funds budgets are presented there. Pages 35 through 45, these are your combining and individual fund schedules. And so all the other funds that don't meet that criteria of a major fund are reported in these pages. And then pages 35 and 36 combine the balance sheet and the income statement for these funds. Pages 46 through 54, this is your single audit reporting and our opinions on the internal controls, and we refer to as the yellow book opinion. And then finally, pages 55 and 56 the local highway finance report, which is a required reporting document by the state. So I'll hit on some highlights of your balance sheet and your revenues and expenditures. There on page 1, the statement of net positions. So this is like a snapshot picture as of December 31st, 2019, of all the assets of the county, of all the liabilities or claims against those assets, and then the net position or net worth of the county. And so your total assets, approximately $65.8 million. It's a slight increase over prior year. Of that, $18.6 million is in cash and investments. That's about a $1.6 million increase over 2018. $9.2 million is included in receivables, and that's about a $1.2 million increase over prior years. And then the most significant, or in dollars, of the assets are your capital assets. That's all your property and equipment throughout the county. And so that's about $36.6 million net of depreciation, which is down a little bit primarily because of depreciation on the existing facilities and equipment. Total liabilities, $28.3 million. That's a decrease of about $2.4 million. Your accounts payable decreased by about $1.3 million, and your long-term debt decreased by about $1.1 million. So that's always a good thing to see your long-term debt going down. So deferred property tax revenues of $5.9 million. That's an increase of about $567,000. So that's a reflection of, based on the AVs, assessed values, and how they are increasing in the county, okay? And then your net position, or the equity, $31.6 million. It's about a $2.3 million increase over last year. Of that, $14 million is tied up in your investments, or net investment in your capital assets. $7.3 million is restricted, which is primarily related to the unspent sales and use tax revenues in the sales and use tax fund. And then you have $10.4 million of unrestricted. That means there's no ties to it. And so if we were to look at that and compare it to the $40 million in expenses of the county, you'd have about 3 months of operations. If all the revenue streams dried up for 3 months, you could operate for 3 months. So again, from an audit standpoint, that's not a concern of ours, primarily because you are funded by tax revenues. And so that stream is going to continue. So on the statement of activities, page 2, this is more of your income statement. And again, you have about $40.4 million of expenses, and a little increase over last year of $2.9 million. But you have a $42.6 million in revenues, which is actually a $3.5 million increase over last year. And the significant increase there is related to your sales and use taxes. And so your sales and use taxes, about $12.4 million, an increase of $1.6 million. And I'll tell you, I've seen this with all my local government entities collecting sales taxes. Starting in 2019, that's when the online sales started being taxed. And so, especially in my rural community clients, I've seen significant increases there. So, so that kind of covers from a full accrual standpoint, or like a business is reported, pages 1 and 2. Then page 3, this is your balance sheet of your governmental funds. And again, it's very, the difference between page 3 and page 1 are the capital assets. So your total assets on the governmental funds balance sheet is $29.6 million. Again, it's about an increase of $2.5 million. As I mentioned before, the cash and investments and your receivables make up the majority of the increase. Your total liabilities of $5.1 million, that's down about $1.5 million, and primarily related to the decrease in the accounts payable from prior year. We already discussed the deferred property tax revenue, or deferred property taxes. Those are the taxes levied at the end of December that are being collected currently this year in 2020. And then down at the bottom, your fund balance or net worth is $18.6 million. That's about a $3.4 million increase over last year. Your, of that, the restricted amounts, $7.3 million, and as I mentioned, the sales and use tax makes up $5 million of that restriction. Then you have $4.1 million of committed and assigned fund balance, and these are primarily all of your special revenue funds. All the other funds besides the general fund are either committed or assigned. And then that leaves an unassigned amount of $5.7 million, and in the general fund, that's an increase of about $1.8 million over last year's. And so when you look at it, just the general fund by itself compared to your expenditures of the general fund, you actually have about 4 months of operations there. Okay. Page 4, statement of revenues and expenses and changes in fund balance. Again, this is very similar to page 2, with the exception of the principal that was paid on your debt and then also depreciation on the capital assets. And so your revenue, $42.6 million, the $3.5 million increase that I previously mentioned. Your expenses or expenditures are $39.2 million, which is a slight increase of $1.3 million. And of that, the general fund net income is $2.2 million, so that's about a 40% increase over last year. So that's why you had that significant increase in your unassigned fund balance as well. And majority of the funds had net incomes for 2019, so that's good. Page 6, again, I spoke about it, the custodial funds, cash held by the Treasurer's Office for others. And then there is, in the back section, there are what we call a combining statement for the custodial funds. And I will highlight that now in our footnotes at the very end. We had to implement a new accounting standard related to these fiduciary funds. Primarily what it did for you guys was just change the formatting and change the names of the statements. Okay, so nothing significant as far as from our standpoint. So then the footnotes, as I mentioned, that's the bulk of your report. And so from pages 7 through 29, again, pages 17 through 20, that's where your cash and investments are disclosed. Page 18 shows how the different investments that the county has. Page 23 is a table that shows your capital assets. Page 24 also discloses the long-term debt. It shows the refunding that the county had during 2019. And on page 25 in the footnote disclosure of the 2019 certificates of participation, we disclose in there that there was a net present value of $429,000 related to that refunding. So that's primarily related to future interest that would have been paid on the old issue. Page 28, we put on there the subsequent events disclosure. Since the COVID-19 has happened, there's been uncertainties. So we've been recommending our clients include this in there because it is an uncertainty to know how that's going to affect revenue streams and affect expenditures of local government entities. And then, as I mentioned, we also disclose there the change in accounting principles for the fiduciary fund. I briefly touched on the single audit. Again, we had no findings, so that's always a good thing. So that tells you, the majority of your federal funds, about 7.7, out of the 7.7 million of federal funds, 5.3 million of it comes through the Department of Human Services. And I'll tell you, those programs are are pretty sticky at times as far as auditing them. And so we have a rotation. This year, we only had to audit one of the smaller programs in the DHS. And so then next year, we'll be back auditing some of their larger programs, okay? And so that kind of covers the financials. The other document you have is the management letter. And again, our professional standards require us, as your auditors, to communicate certain things to you, the governing board of the county. That's the purpose of this letter. It's also a tool to say, hey, here's some things we found that we feel, you know, either best practices or to improve internal controls. That's also what this letter is for. And so on the first page there, you know, we talk about what our responsibilities are as your auditors. Then on page 2, we talk about, you know, supplementary information, the accounting estimates, changes in significant accounting policies. You know, if we made significant audit adjustments, I don't think we made any audit adjustments, Sonny, did we? I think we had a few minor ones that we weren't significant enough. So what that tells you as the commissioners is that the accounting system and procedures and policies have been put in place, are being followed by staff. And so so the numbers that you're seeing throughout the year are the numbers that are in this document. So that's always a good thing. And then, you know, if we had any difficulties performing our audit, well, you would have heard from me before today if we had, so that's good. So then under other information there, the middle of page 3, some of these comments are kind of repeats of last year, but it's and then follow up as far as what we were able to determine. You know, we talked about the self-insurance fund, the continuing decline in the fund balance of that. And, you know, there at the end of 2019, you as the county commissioners chose to basically eliminate that model and go to a different model. And so in April of 2020, that new model took over. So again, you know, we commend you for doing that because you're cutting cost and future cost of the county. So, you know, we will take a look at that as far as the new plan and during the 2020 audit. The county sheriff's office last year, we met with some staff at the county detention center, you know, looking at some of the tracking of the inmates' funds. You know, the one thing that did happen is that, well, first off, I'll say, you know, because of the COVID pandemic, we didn't make it back out there to follow up this year because we didn't do it in December, planned on doing it in April. So in 2020, we are going to follow up. But the biggest thing there that was made was that the control over the bank activity was brought into the treasurer's office. That's huge. And so anyway, the one thing we want to follow up with next year is to compare the information over at the detention center in their system to what's flowing through the county treasurer's office. So again, not a significant concern of ours as far as our opinion is on the financial statements. So the IT system, you know, each year we have our independent IT consultants, you know, look at different areas of the county. And so, you know, the one thing is the software. This just, it's one of these things that the finance department has found a workaround, but when you have these separate systems, even though they're all by the same company, they just don't communicate directly. And so it's caused for, you know, some Sunny and her staff to find some workarounds in order to get the information that's being pulled in through these other areas into the financial statements. And so, you know, we look at that from an audit standpoint to say, okay, does this make sense? And although it's, you know, it's not the best solution, but our biggest thing is just the ongoing monitoring by Sunny and her staff of this information so that everything's being reported properly. At the top of page 4, users, access, and passwords, you know, we found significant improvements over this last year. The biggest thing we recommend is that, you know, perhaps a policy be established requiring changes of passwords on a consistent basis, perhaps annually, you know. But more so just to document it is the biggest thing, okay? The network system, this is the county-wide system. You know, our IT people looks at what they call mission-critical areas, and if there's, you know, areas where changes can be implemented or improved, and, you know, the biggest thing is that we know that IT has contracted with an outside party and that they're looking at this, and so to provide feedback to see if there's necessary changes that need to be made. Again, is there a significant concern from our standpoint on the financials? No, but this is something that if something happens, you know, what's the backup plan? How secure is the data? Can this happen? And so we feel that your IT department is really looking into this. And so, again, we will follow up with it next year. And then the other thing, too, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with the county clerk's office, but, you know, we talked about last year the multiple, the one cash register being used for multiple purposes, and the environment in there as far as the physical environment just didn't seem to make sense. And so, you know, we understand in the 2021 that plans are made to do some remodeling there to hopefully make it a more secure environment and to improve the internal controls over the process. And so we commend the county clerk for taking this step, and you know, we will follow up with that as far as when we come back out to look at other procedures. So, and finally, you know, I mentioned this before, but I want to thank Sonny and Charlene specifically, and all the staff in finance, treasurer's office, DHS, county clerk's office. You know, they have the hard part of pulling information together for us, and especially this year, it was more challenging. But really, with their assistance, I feel that it made the audit process fairly smooth. And so I want to thank them for their help, because it really does make for an efficient audit. So, any questions? I know I went through a lot, so.
I have no questions, but I do have a couple of comments for you.
Yes.
First, I would like to say, yes, we're happy that you're here in person as well. We have definitely adapted to a new method of doing business. It doesn't mean any of us like it, but it's nice to be able to finally start doing some things in person again. So we're glad that you're here this morning. I also just wanted to take note, as you were speaking and looking through all of these documents and thinking about the vast amount of work that you and your staff did to put this together, still doesn't hold a candle to the vast amount of work that had been done in the past by Sunny, her entire financial team, but as well as all of our other elected officials, our department heads, everyone who deals with budgets and funding and money. And so this one document represents so much work. I don't think anyone truly can underestimate or can overestimate the weight of what this means to Fremont County. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thanks to
thank you.
all of our amazing people here in Fremont County as well.
Yes.
Gentlemen, any comments?
Well, just one question. On statements of net position, on capital assets not depreciated, is that buildings and parks and stuff?
No, so your capital assets not depreciated, those would be like land, but you hit part of it, parks, you know, because those are kind of well, they don't change. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, they do change by erosion and stuff, but really under the accounting standards, they're considered a non-depreciable asset. And so those are separated out as far as reporting. And then all your others, your building, your county roads, bridges, infrastructure type stuff, equipment, vehicles, those are all considered having what they call useful lives. And so at some point, you know, their useful life is used up and you replace them. But whereas your land and that stuff, there's, under the accounting standards, there's not really any useful life attached to it. Land is land.
But it's still an asset
Yes, yes.
with some worth,
Right.
obviously.
And the thing is, that's a lot of times clients ask me, well, can we adjust this to fair market value? And unfortunately, the governmental accounting standards don't allow that. So what you're seeing here are actual cost. So, you know, if land, you know, 100 years ago, that's on the books, was purchased for $10 or $20, that's what it sets out on the books,
Oh,
okay?
that's why this is so low. Okay.
Yeah. Believe me, I've had that question a lot. Can we adjust this? No, unfortunately, you can't, so.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Today's real estate market is what you're thinking, huh?
Exactly.
I just kind of want to echo what Commissioner Bell said. Thank you for the work that you did, and I know it's hard with this COVID and this remote stuff, but thanks to the county staff, elected officials and everybody, because there's a lot of information here. I was looking through it before we came to the meeting this morning and trying to digest some of it, and you helped with some of those things that I was looking at, but job well done and good job to the county. We appreciate it. We're trying to make sure that we're spending taxpayer monies efficiently and sparingly, and trying to be have a balance at the end as well. So it's good to know that we do have 4 months, and God forbid that the money quits coming in, and I don't think it will, but we're in a positive movement here, so let's keep it that way. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I also hope that this audit report is able to give our entire community a certain level of comfort, knowing that good things are happening at Fremont County. So again, thank you. All
You're welcome.
right, gentlemen, I am prepared to accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the 2019 audit report from Logan and Associates, LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept this audit report for the year 2019, prepared by Kyle Logan of Logan and Associates. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We turn next to a memorandum of understanding between the Colorado Department of Agriculture and Fremont County for hemp grows. And we have with us this morning Sean Garrett, our Director of Planning and Zoning, for a word of explanation. Morning, Sean.
Morning, how are you?
Wonderful.
So what
How
we're
are
looking
you?
at is the Department of Agriculture created the MOU for county entities, and it will provide monthly updates of the location and contact information for all the hemp grows within the county. That's something currently we don't have access to, and this would be very helpful for both us and the Sheriff's Department, especially if we get calls as hemp looks close to marijuana, and so a lot of people think, well, this is a big illegal marijuana grow when it could actually be a hemp grow.
All right, so this is really for informational purposes.
Yes, and it'd be all internal. This isn't going to be shared to the public or made available to the public.
All right. Gentlemen, any questions?
Do we need to approve this?
Yes.
Yeah.
We do, yeah. I just have a comment right quick. As Sean mentioned, this time of year especially, because we're close to harvest, that stuff does all look a lot alike, and we've already had a little bit of confusion of a legal hemp grow, thinking it's a marijuana grow, and then the not knowing that there was a hemp grow there because they're only registered with the state. But this information will be very important and not cause the county to create another policy where they have to register again. So we're not reinventing the wheel. So this is a super, super good understanding between the Department of Ag for information for the counties.
Okay. With that, Madam Chair, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Colorado Department of Agriculture and Fremont County.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, easy for me.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Colorado Department of Agriculture and Fremont County concerning hemp grows. Further conversation?
Yeah, I want to mention one thing, that we constantly talk about CCI, Colorado Counties Incorporated, and the help that they give us. They had sent out we get a weekly, I guess, newsletter from them, and this was one thing mentioned in there again, which reminded me of it, which allowed us to go ahead and forward this. So thanks to CCI, we do get a lot of information and help from those guys.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Okay, let's do roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we turn next to a resolution. This is a resolution number 51, expanding the grant program with CARES Act funding to include Fremont County schools, nonprofit entities, including churches that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're going to ask our county manager, Sunny Bryant, to come back up.
All right. So a couple weeks ago, we adopted a resolution allowing for a grant program for small businesses. And so this is actually expanding that to include nonprofits, religious organizations, and school districts. We understand that they have also been impacted, and so we are requesting that our program is expanded to allow for those entities to apply as well. And so we've received over 30 applications so far from businesses, and as the word has gotten out, we've had a lot of interest from nonprofits and started receiving interest from churches, and so we're really excited to request the expansion of our program.
This is one of those things that I believe they were not included originally because we weren't certain that we could include them.
Right.
So this is one of the questions that we had been asking of the Treasury Department, who is in charge of the CARES Act funding, asking and asking and asking, and we just could not get an answer. They finally clarified we are able to share this funding with schools, religious organizations, and nonprofits. So I'm really excited about doing this. So I hope that we start hearing from them as well. And this is the program you talked about in your county manager's report, that the next round of funding will be closed on October 15th. So get those applications in.
And so what we'll do is we'll actually expand the information and the grant application to include that. So it's one application for all different groups. So you're not trying to figure out which one and all of that. So we'll request the same information and just be able to make it a little more simple as people start applying for those.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Sunny? Comments?
Got no questions, we got a motion.
Let's do it.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 51, expanding the grant program of the CARES Act funding to include Fremont County schools, religious organizations, and nonprofit entities impacted by COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 51, expanding the grant program with CARES Act funding to include Fremont County schools, nonprofit entities, and religious organizations that have been impacted by COVID-19. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McVall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And once again, we are going to bring up the Fremont County Local Disaster Emergency Declaration in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. We need to extend this once again, so I'm going to ask our county attorney, Brenda Jackson, for another word on where we're at in all of this.
Good morning. We've done this local disaster emergency declaration on a monthly basis since March. And we are tracking what the state of Colorado is doing with its disaster emergency declarations. The governor extended it through the first week of October, first few days of October, and all indications are that he is likely to extend it again another 30 days. And unfortunately, these do go 30 days at a time. So once a month, we have to look at what we've done, when ours is set to expire, and determine whether or not we should be extending it. So presently, Fremont County's local disaster emergency expires on September 27th, and it appears that it's going to be necessary to extend it for another 30 days. And of course, this is related to COVID-19 and the pandemic within the nation, well, around the world, and within the nation and the state of Colorado. So this is a resolution extending the local disaster emergency declaration through October 26th, which is an additional 30 days, and we will look at it toward the end of October and see if further action is necessary.
All right, thank you so much for that. Gentlemen, questions, concerns?
Resolution 52.
Resolution number 52.
With that, Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 52, amending the declaration of the local disaster emergency presently set to expire on midnight September 27th, 2020, and extending the declaration to expire at midnight on October 26th, 2020.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 52, extending the Fremont County Local Disaster Emergency Declaration until midnight on October 26th of 2020. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item of new business is the First Amendment to the Intergovernmental Agreement concerning transferability of water shares for Pathfinder Park. And we're going to turn this time to Commissioner Payne for a word of explanation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sit on the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District Board, and they're working with our Department of Transportation. We have approximately 225 shares of water out at Pathfinder Park, the vast majority of them not being used because of dry up and other considerations. And so we as a county got the idea to use that unused water for our Department of Transportation out west, on the roads out west. Currently, we've been leasing water from Upper Ark Water. Instead of leasing water, let's use our own water. I'm simplifying the process. It's quite a lengthy process to augment that water. But we needed a intergovernmental agreement, an IGA, with RE2 School District and also the Recreation District at Pathfinder Park, so we could use that water out west. So the First Amendment to this IGA allows us to do that, use it for other government purposes. And so the RE2 School District and also the Rec District agreed to this. They've signed off on it. I went to a Recreation District meeting a couple weeks ago. They agreed to approve this IGA for this First Amendment. I believe this is a really good use of taxpayer assets. I think it's a win-win. And with that, Madam Chair, I move to approve this First Amendment of the Intergovernment Agreement concerning transferability of water shares for Pathfinder Park.
Second.
All right, thank you so much for that explanation, Commissioner. I just would like to note that we also continue talking about Pathfinder Park and other development that's happening out there. Some really good things are happening. And this transfer of water shares will in no way affect what we're doing out there with buildings.
Correct.
So wanted to clarify that. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we need now to appoint someone to the Canyon City Urban Renewal Authority. As Commissioner Payne explained a few moments ago in his earlier report, he was appointed to be serving on that Canyon City Urban Renewal Authority through special districts. However, the county has had conversations. The commissioners made the determination that we believe our District 1 commissioner, whoever happens to be sitting in that seat at that time, is the best person by far to be able to represent county interests at those meetings. So Commissioner Payne agreed. He decided he would step aside from the other appointment to accept this one for the next few months until a new commissioner for District 1 comes in. So, questions, comments, motion?
No, I got a motion for you, Madam Chair.
All right.
I would like to point out that one of the reasons we kind of decided ahead of time is it's a 25-year commitment on this URA. So to appoint someone else other than an elected official, it might be hard because that person will probably not be around in 25 years. So I think it's best interest of the county to appoint an elected official. With that, Madam Chair, I move to appoint the chairman or the Fremont County Commissioner, District 1, to the Canyon City Urban Renewal Authority.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to make the board appointment to the Canyon City Urban Renewal Authority be the District 1 Commissioner here in Fremont County. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We have two more quick appointments to make. First, item number 7 is to appoint Marvin Dornhecker to the Fremont County Board of Appeals as an alternate member for a 3-year term that will end on August 1st of 2023. We do have a letter from Mr. Dornhecker asking for this appointment. I don't believe we had a lot of other interest.
With that, Madam Chair, Mr. Dornhecker's been a good member of that board, and I move to appoint Marvin Dornhecker to the Fremont County Board of Appeals as an alternate member for a 3-year term ending August 1st, 2023.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to appoint Marvin Dornhecker to the Fremont County Board of Appeals as an alternate member for a 3-year term that will end on August 1st, 2023. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the final item we have under new business this morning is to reappoint Lou Toxvard and James Wick to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board for 3-year terms ending October 1st of 2023. I will point out I have the opportunity to be this Board of County Commissioners representative to attend those Fremont County Airport Advisory Board meetings. They're really interesting meetings. I think we have a great team currently working on that board. And I know both Lou and Jim are really excited about the things that are happening at the Fremont County Airport right now. So in particular, I'm very excited about getting them back. So I will be the one to make this motion to reappoint Lou Toxvard and Jim Wick to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board for 3-year terms ending October 1st, 2023.
Second.
Okay?
All right, further conversation? Okay, let's do roll call.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, there being no further business to come before this board, we are adjourned.